if a kid actor,
Yeah.
what advice would you give kids that want to go the route that you did? What's some of the advice you would give them?
Ooh, man. Have a good sense of self and who you are. You know, you go through a lot within this business and ups and downs and things that you go through, right? And it's don't lose sight of yourself, you know, throughout the process. When we brought all that back in 2019, it was very important to me that I spoke to the kids. And I remember when I saw all of them for the first time, it was a whole new cast. I remember going in there and I said, yo, the Lord told me, tell all of them something that you wish somebody told you. And I told them, like, this is not the thing that makes you important. Or this is not the thing that makes you like, oh, I can do this. This is one stepping stone of your life that you're going to be in. And so you were made special when you were knitted in the womb, when you were born. So don't competition with one another. Have fun while you're doing this, but understand this is a job. Understand that this is a job, and there's going to be other jobs too as well. And seeing them grow now with them being on other different shows now, and they really understood that. And then I flew my parents out too. I flew my parents out because a lot of parents are green within it too when it's just starting.
Yes.
And I wanted my parents to give that perspective to their parents. And it was a beautiful moment. A lot of the parents were crying within that moment when they heard my parents talking to them as well. And it was just a great moment. And I asked Nickelodeon to be able to do that because I feel like it's very important. As athletes, you know, a lot of you guys, you get other older athletes that, you know, pull back and kind of tell you advice about what to expect. As actors, we just get thrown into it. You know what I mean? And so we got to look back as, you know, veteran actors and actually sit down and have real conversations with the younger ones to let them know what to expect and how to navigate through it too as well.
How difficult was it navigating those early years? Because like you said, you didn't have what you could give someone now. Because I don't like the mentorship. Like if somebody could, but there was no one that you could possibly ask about what you were going through.
Facts. Facts. It was coming fast. So here's the thing. So I'll explain it this way because a lot of people, like I said, they don't know the timeline. Okay. Because I've been in this business for so long, they don't really understand 30. The timeline. Yeah, it's over 30 years, man. So when you look at it, I remember what got me through was definitely the Lord. That's what got me through. And then what got me through too is, you know, staying the course. But how it started was that I remember when I was doing the show, 94, you know, having fun, working on the show. But then around like when we started to come to LA, right? When we started coming to LA and we did the show, I want to say that was 98, I believe. So I had to be like 19 or 20 years old, like 19 years old. Okay, so at this point, this is where I really understood branding and ownership. I love my characters that were on the show because remember now, I was creating these characters even within auditions. You know what I mean? Right. So I love these characters, but I had to realize but I don't own these characters. Oh. I don't own the show. You know what I mean? These are people that work within the business. You know what I mean? And so I remember there was a point where one of the execs and one of the head writers, the show started to change a little bit. You know, the writing of the show started to change. And I didn't like the direction it was going in. You know what I mean? And I was just like, okay. And so we started butting heads a little bit, you know, within that. And this was the point where I remember he got upset.
Wow.
In front of everybody. Took me to a room. You know what I mean? And he was just like, said some real derogatory things, you know, and went off. You know what I mean? Me being from the south side of Chicago, in that thought process, it was like, okay, either I could put hands on him, right, or we could go argue. This is not going well. You know what I mean? And with him doing that, I mean, I am an adult, but I also 19. Right. You know what I mean? And the things that he said was crazy. And in that moment, I'm not the man I am today, standing here. So my thought process was, all right, bet, well, I'm going to leave set. And we're not going to film today. You know what I mean? So I walked off set. Now knowing being a producer, money, you got to pay cameramen, you got to pay all these different things. That could start a chain reaction. That could be a chain reaction. That could be a tornado, right? But at that moment, I felt disrespected about what was said and how it was said. And when he said that within that moment, it became real where it was like, oh, okay, this is really a job, and this has really changed everything of how you think about it, right? And it wasn't as fun anymore when that was happening. At the same time, I was also in a relationship as well. And when I was in that relationship, when this happened too, I had gotten a girl pregnant. This is my ex-wife. She was pregnant at the time. Okay. So all this was going on at the same time. And so this frustration, and the reason I'm explaining this to you is because I want people to understand the mindset of, what might happen to young actors and the things that they're going through. We see it all the time with the suicide rate and with actors and what goes on. And I was friends with a lot of the actors that are not here anymore. And so just the process of the things that you deal with, right? So I'm, button heads with this producer, says this thing. At the same time, my ex-wife is pregnant. We're dating at this time. And also, too, as I'm going through all of this at the same time and dealing with this whole process, I'm upset about it. I called my pops, and I'm just like, when that happened with the producer, I'm upset. And he was just like, hey, yo, did he disrespect you as a man? How do you feel? The man I am today, I should have told my dad, yeah, come on out. Because he said, yo, I want to come out, be there with you. But I said, no, it's all good. I handle it. It's all good. And what I did was I just said, you know what? All right, I'm going to just do my job. And I'm going to do the best at what I can do. But as far as everybody else, you know what I mean? It's just me right now. And I'm just going to make this show happen the way that I do. And because at that point, it was a thing of I ended up going from here to here, being a kid, and then now being an adult. My mom was my manager at that time. And with my mom being my manager at the time, I didn't want to tell her I got a girl pregnant. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if it was someone that was a manager and I could have just told him.
Yeah,
but I couldn't tell him at that time. Yeah. So it was like, oh shoot, I can't tell him this. You know what I mean? And so I'm dealing with that. Because, I'm dealing with that the whole time. She's, barely starting to show. We trying to hide it.
Right.
Type of thing.
She's just eating a little more than what she should.
Yeah, right. And I'm having this frustration, with this writer as well too. And that's going on. And then I remember she was just like, yo, I want to have an abortion. Right. And dealing with that too as well. With no one knowing. No one knowing. So no one knowing we're doing that. And I'm still, hey, welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Doing all these shows, making people laugh and all these different things because I've been on, Good Morning America, all these different, interviews and shows and telling people about suicidal thoughts and emotions that you might go through. And I never really pinpointed who the person was or who it is, or the things that were going on. And this is what is going on. So that's what I'm sharing it with you.
Right.
And so within that process of going on with that, it's an emotional roller coaster that was going on at that point. And so that happens. And then what I end up doing right after that, ended up getting her pregnant again, throughout that process, even after we had the abortion. And then ended up getting married, right, as well. And so while that's going on with Nickelodeon, I'm sort of like about to be on my way out. I became this, I don't want to say, what's the word? It's more of like one lady ended up saying it like this, where she called me the Tupac of Nickelodeon. You know what I mean? So one of the people that we work with, I wouldn't say that, but this was what's said about me. And so because of the point where I just was kind of like, hey man, this is going to be my show now. I'm going to do it this way.
Right.
And I didn't agree and I didn't tell anybody what that, producer had said to me at that time and what was going on. And what was said. And even what I was going through personally within my life, what I was going through, I wasn't sharing that with anybody.
Right.
And that's a lot of a problem when you isolate that. And within that process, you can go through a lot. You know what I mean? And holding all that frustration inside, right? But I still was able to have an outlet through the show. Through the show and doing that process. And I remember Mystery Man had came along, where was this movie called Mystery Man I did with Ben Stiller and Janine Garofalo. And so to me, it was like, well, I'm on my way out of Nickelodeon. It's all good. You know what I mean? Yeah. And a lot of people talk about, Kenan and I, as far as like the split between the Kenan and Kel show. This is where it started. And I think that even Kenan didn't really know either what was going on,
right?
Because I didn't share what was going on with me and the head writer of the show when that happened, and what was going on, and I didn't trust anybody at that moment either. Yeah.
You speak about these thoughts that you were having, and I think it was around 2004.
Yeah.
That you said that you was at your lowest.
Yeah.
And you contemplated taking your own life.
Yeah.
You didn't talk. You didn't have a therapist. You didn't have anybody that you felt comfortable enough with to go sit down and have a conversation with, even if it's not a therapist, maybe a pastor, maybe a closest friend.
Yeah.
You held that, you bottled that up inside and dealt with it on your own.
So this is what I mean about the understanding the timeline. Okay, so because that's a big speed up. You know what I mean? So the start of that, from where the suicide is, where I was just talking about. So there was a start of that, which was, like I said, 99, 98, 99, you know what I mean? Around that time. And so when that was going on, all this process of me not sharing what was happening and holding all of that, and dealing with that, that's what led to that part.
Okay.
So in the beginning of that, with me holding all that information, then Mystery Man came along. You know, that show. And I remember I'm out the Nickelodeon. I'm like, I'm all good. And I remember the head writer, who's Dan Schneider, that's who I was talking about, who wrote on the show at that time. He was also doing a movie. I believe it was Liar Liar. With Amanda. Not Liar Liar. It was... oh man, I'm trying to remember the name of it. It wasn't Liar Liar, but it was Amanda Bynes was supposed to was in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was about a kid that lies and all that stuff like that. But they wanted me to actually be in that movie at first, you know, and I was like, yo, we should put Keenan in it. That would be dope to put Keenan in it, and we both do that because we had a 3-picture deal at Paramount when we were doing that. But they decided that they didn't do the other movies. We just did Good Burger. Okay. But I was doing Mystery Man, so they were like, yo, you should be on that. And I was like, oh yeah, but let's put Keenan in. They were like, nah, I think this should just be with you. And I'm like, no, but I feel like, we got the show, let's do it. And also too, the writer is the same writer I had fallen out with. You know what I mean? That's in the room. And so I'm just like, you know what I mean? I don't want to do that.
Right.
And I remember I left out of the room, and all these producers excited about doing this movie.
Right.
And I remember I left out of that room, that situation, and then I saw Keenan, and then I saw Nick, and they were like, yeah, we heard about that meeting. They just started laughing.
Right.
And for me, I felt like, yo, y'all was in there fighting for you. You know what I mean? And that kind of hurt at that moment. Thing about me was that relationship is very important, and you need to let people know how you feel. At that time, wasn't doing that.
Right.
There was a trust thing. You know what I mean? I had already been through death, within my family in Chicago, and all these things were going on. At this point, both of my uncles was murdered. I had a friend that was murdered that we talked about. Yep. All this happened around the same time. And so there wasn't any, I wasn't seeing any therapist or anything of that nature. I was just working constantly working on the show, and within doing that. And then at that time too, I ended up marrying my ex-wife, because we had another baby. We had the baby, right? We had the abortion, but then we had a baby. And she ended up telling me that the baby that was aborted wasn't mine. And so within that process, you are immedially married within a lie already.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So the marriage was never the same after that, was it?
No, it was. This is at the beginning. You know what I'm saying? This is right at the beginning. And so within that process,
she probably should have kept that to herself.
And well, I'm glad she didn't. And so within that process, with that being known, it was just like, yo. And now I'm on TV. I'm still on TV. All this thing, and I don't have time to really process that. And she almost, with even in being, the pregnancy, she almost died within the pregnancy. So that was a hard time too.
Right.
And I remember some of the writers coming to the set, to the hospital, and they were like bringing presents, and I'm thinking like, oh yeah, cool, thank you. And then they were like, yo, when can you be back on set? And it was just
you see what I'm dealing with?
Yeah, we'll see what I'm dealing with. But no shout out to no shade to them. They were doing what they were told as far as a job to see if Kel can be back on set. And I was the one that ended up getting someone pregnant, around that time. But I'm just setting up so you understand what was really going on when we get to 2004. You know what I mean?
Yes.
In that process. So and now knowing that this, the kid is mine, and then now leaving the show, on Nickelodeon. And then I had Mystery Man, this big show, and I'm thinking like, oh yeah, that's gonna be it. You know what I mean? And learning within that process too, where it was like, hey, well, no, I don't want to renew on all that Kenan and Kel. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? And I already know what's going on as far as what's happening within this realm of what's going on with the show behind the scenes and what's going on with me. And I was just like, yo, I'm ready to leave anyway. And then Mystery Man didn't do as well as we thought it was going to. You know what I mean? As we thought it was going to do within that process. And then just navigating through that, now being a father. And here's the thing about it is that the reason I didn't have anybody relate to, because I was the first one out of the entire cast to be married, to have a house, have kids. And Kenan, Nick, none of them could relate to that. They were still being kids. And also, too, there was this process of, I got it all together. I already know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And that's what I was doing. You know what I mean? To me, it was like, I got it. I can handle this. I can handle this.
Right.
No.
You couldn't.
No, you can't handle this within the start because you're really going through something that is really deep, and you need to let people know and let people know how you feel and let people know what's on your heart, what's really going on. But I kept it in and was like, I can handle this. Yeah. You
mentioned a lot of some of the kids, actors and actresses that you were around. Life had gotten so overbearing that they didn't feel they could go on.
Yeah.
You mentioned Amanda Bynes, and you see her in conservatorship, and you see her dealing with her issues. How difficult is that for you, knowing what you went through and seeing her go through something very similar?
It's deep. I mean, when I was at the Sun Hotel in Canada, where I was going to end my life at that moment, on the other side of a balcony, Amanda was there. Amanda was shooting a movie where she played a guy, that movie. And Kenan was in town too as well. We hadn't talked in a while. He was doing Snakes on a Plane.
Okay.
And no one knew that I was going through with my ex. We had very toxic relationship. You know what I mean? As you can imagine from the start of it all. You know what I mean?
It's hard to reveal something after a lie.
Yeah, bro.
If it was founded on a lie, it's going to fall eventually.
Yeah, exactly. And it went from bad to worse, with the things that were being revealed, and it was a lot, it was other times. She had gotten pregnant, other things, and it just got to a point.
She had gotten pregnant again?
Yeah.
While y'all were together?
Yeah.
And it wasn't you?
Not with me.
Ah, come on, Kel.
It wasn't me.
And you stuck around?
Yeah, I stuck around. But here's the thing. These were things that were being revealed.
She telling you this? No. How did you find this out? I want to know how you found this out. You read a letter. You got to it through the phone.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So how that one went? There was a thing where we weren't having sex anymore. And we weren't doing anything anymore because...
No, you weren't having sex. Clearly she was.
Yeah, it's just because of I knew what was going on.
Right.
And I was like, yo, what is even happening? You're not coming home. You're not doing all these different things.
And y'all man, you not coming home. Y'all
Yeah. But then this was, back then.
Yeah.
We praying for her now. It's all good.
Yeah.
But this is what the process of what I was going through.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And so now as this is going on, there was a time, get some more soda.
Now I need something stronger than soda, Kel. You telling me that right here.
Go ahead, brother.
I mean, you had one, you aborted that, but that wasn't yours. She told you didn't know. You had one of your own, and
Yeah, well, yeah. There was a situation where there was a guy, and I had a feeling, you know what I mean, that she was
Did you know him?
Talking to somebody. It was one of her friends that used to come over, right? And, I was working a lot, you know what I mean? So it was one of those situations. And so I was dropping off the kids, and, didn't go to work, and you know how I go. And so one day I decided where I was like, I'm going to take the car and just kind of like go searching where she might be because she ain't come home. And so I got in the whip, went driving around, saw her whip, looked different, you know, and I saw it, and I said at the hotel, I was like, yo, okay, this is a car at the hotel. I go to the lobby, you know what I mean? I go walk into the lobby. Turns out dude just come walking down the lobby about to go to the car, you know, my car, and then she was driving, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, okay, what's up? Take me upstairs. Let's go to the elevator, let's go together. You know what I mean? And he's like, oh, okay, cool. You know what I mean? And we go up, we don't need to fight, let's go.
Yeah.
Because I already know what it is.
Right.
So we go up, of course she's surprised, oh, you know, within the room. And, you know, we walk in, you know, I walk in there and I'm just like, hey, okay, so this is what's going on. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? All right, and this is what you're doing? Okay, so, and I walk out, because I'm like, I'm not about to fight over someone that...
she already made a decision.
Yeah, you made your decision. You already we'd been through it.
Did she like come out and let me explain?
Yeah.
What did that explain? Offer without explanation.
Let me explain. I'll go to the car. After I went to the car, then there was this... I was like, yo, I need to go back. And I went back because now I was like, well, I felt disrespected, so now I need to go do something. I went back, so then I'm going back up there. Cops came, everybody came up at that point. And I remember this cop told me, he said, hey, yo, I seen this type of woman, this situation. You need to get out of this situation. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You need to get out of this situation. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, like a goofy, still stayed around. You know what I mean? We said we was trying to make it work for the kids. You know what I mean? Trying to make it work for the kids. But it just wasn't working out. You know what I mean? Trying to make it work. And she ended up getting pregnant by another guy. Now, how that situation happened was that I was at the hospital. She had a sickle cell trait. Mm-hmm. So she ended up, you know, I'm thinking it's that. Mm-hmm. We go in there and the doctor comes in and says, yeah, so you lost the baby. And I was just like, hey, yo, what? You lost the baby? And I'm like, oh, I know that's not mine. And so I lost the baby and I'm like, okay, so she was pregnant at that time. And this was just like, what was going on? You know what I mean? Within the relationship. That was rough, but then it's also doing movies, doing TV shows, doing all these things as this is going on, not really telling anybody anything. Right. I wasn't telling my parents, telling my family what was going on. Right. You know, so now... all these situations are happening, and I get to the point where I'm at, 2004 up there, and the thing about it is that I would drink, to get out of such, emotional, all of this mind, because it was just kind of like, making people laugh and doing all these things, but then also this is going on too as well. You know what I mean? And so I got to the point where I'm about to do this, and the reason I did that was because I went to Canada to do this movie, and we had already, the relationship was just toxic at that point. So now I'm here and I get a phone call, and she's this guy, that she wants to be with. And I was just like, okay, yeah, y'all need to be together. You know what I mean? Like, let's do this. But then I'm also dealing with the embarrassment of all of this situation. What's going on? I don't want people to know what I'm going through, all this situation. And I just felt like at that point it needs to be a reset button. Just because I looked at my parents and how beautiful their relationship was, and how this relationship was not being that at all, and how what I thought marriage would be wasn't that at all. And then even just the navigation of this industry as well, and what was going on. And I just wanted to hit an off button at that point, and I felt like that was the answer. Right. I tell people, I heard something tell me, hey, yo, Kel, get into a room, lock the door, and get off this balcony. I know that was God now, but at that time, I said it was a person, but I know it was God that told me to do that. And I did that and went and did work, and then from that, changing my life around, where it's to the point where now it's like really living life for me and understanding that,
Kel, even though I'm listening to you talk, and it's a very traumatic experience, and I'm sorry that you had to experience that, but it seems to me, no matter how chaotic it was in your personal life, it was the acting that kept you going.
Well, I would say this, because even with the process of me and Keenan, he kind of just... and I don't think he knows that we did have a conversation about this, but he didn't know any of this either. He didn't know all these things were going on in my life until recently when I was able to talk to him about it. And the thing about it is that on that side of work, when it was a thing of, my talent being stolen by, this writer, this yelling by this writer, all these different things, the process of that and work and all how that was, and navigating that. He was also managed by the same company that the writer was in. And so within that, it was just like, oh, y'all all together. So I couldn't trust anybody. Okay. And where I was from, with having people, die within my life that were in Chicago, I'm going through turmoil in a toxic relationship, and then I'm also having problems within the workplace as well. That was a gumbo of just like, you know what I mean, of what was going on. And that's when I talk about, like, with Robin Williams, when I was saying, like, smiling through everything and making other people laugh. Yes. You never know what somebody else might be going through at that time. And Keenan was going through his own process as well and things that he was going through, but we both weren't sharing. Right. And this is what I talk about with relationship and letting people know what's on your heart. And letting people know what you might be dealing with, because if you don't let people know,
they don't know,
and you just deal with that's a great place for the devil to just play with you. You know what I mean, within that process. And I had to really understand that. You know what I mean. And so even with Amanda, I understood what she was going through. Everybody has their own journey of what they're going through in life. Everybody's journey is different, and this is my journey and process of it.
Want to join Club Shay Shay? Become an official member by hitting that subscribe button, where you never know who's going to be joining us for drinks and conversation. Don't be late to the party, because we like to do something before 2 something.